Hunting After Dark is sponsored by Feral Texas Outdoors Thermal and Night Vision Optics. Hey guys, this is Jason Price here with the Hunting After Dark podcast. Of course, always with my co-host Justin Rumley here.
Yep.
It's just the two of us. It's been a while. We've had different people on.
Yeah, it's been a while since it's been us.
Yeah, so he isn't getting to hide back in the corner over here, and I'm going to let him do everything today. I'm just going to sit back.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting. Today what we're going to talk about is we're going to do a review and kind of a rundown of the new AGM product here. This is the Clarion. This is their dual field of view thermal scope. Is really an awesome scope. You know, when you look at thermal technologies and things that have been changing, they've decided to invest in a dual field of view units, and we're going to get into what that means, but they are doing one in a 3D4 and a 640, and it was niceness for us to be able to get these products and be able to kind of test them. I ended up running the 3D4, Justin ran the 640.
At the 640.
And so we got to do a lot of side-by-side stuff to where we could really see kind of where the 384, kind of how does it shine whenever the 640 type situations, and kind of want to know how the technology is going to work between the two, and just kind of a comparison, because we know guys are going to try to compare between 384 and the 640 when they kind of realize how the utilization of this technology kind of works.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I'll tell you firsthand, you know, just running the 640, I mean, it's got a 35 millimeter lens. It's got the 60 where you can adjust it to the 60. And to me, going from, a 2 base to a 4.5 base.
On 384.
Yes, and then 2 to 3 on the 640. To me, it makes a difference, especially when you're coming in with those long range shots. You know, I'll say, for instance, we were in a tournament and I was on a 2 base and I had a fox come in 15 yards. And thankfully enough, I was on the 2 base, the 35 millimeter lens. If not, I wouldn't be able to see him on that 3 base, because that's as close as he was. You know, I was thankful that I had that option to switch it over to the 2 base and, you know, make an easy shot.
For sure. So dual field of view on these, what he's kind of talking about, you know, we're going to get into some more situations here of how these units work. So they are built off that Rattler 2 V2 system. They do have a little different mount. This unit is longer with that dual field of view, and how that's done up here in the front sensor. It is a little bit longer, so they did put a double latch mount on here, because you are looking at I think it's about a ½ inch longer than the traditional Rattler 2. Is kind of what it looks like here. But it is running off the same battery system, operating system, except for how that dual field of view works is essentially what they do to get some of these lower base magnifications is they are actually sizing down the sensor, is what they do. So what happens is, like in the 3D4, this one's a 25 to a 50. That's 3D4 resolution with a 25 millimeter sensor at a 2 base. And then if you want to dial that sucker up, you're going to go to the 50 sensor, and it's going to go to 4.5 base. So it is going to zoom that in, and that's going to be able to give you those longer range shots. But hey, oh dang, something's coming in, rolled in close at 50 yards. Yep. You roll it back over to the 25 at the 2 base. And this is the 3D4 model.
Yep.
On the 640, it's
the same concept. I was going to say, because you're going to start out, your base is going to be at 35 millimeter lens. And then if you want to, you know, you see something out there further, 200, 300 yards away, you just make the adjustment, pull it over, and that'll switch you to a 60 millimeter lens from there. You know, kind of the same.
At a 3 base, right?
Correct, yes. So
yeah, they are a little different between the two.
Yeah, that 35 is going to sit at a 2 base, and then if you twist it over and go over to the 60, it's going to give you a 3 base.
So how many calls and misses do we get about 640s trying to decide what the base magnification needs to be?
Quite a bit, I was going to say. There's quite a bit of them.
So it does take it. People kind of say, well, did somebody really ask for this? Well, what's going on in this industry is people can't decide between 2, 2.5, 3 base magnifications on 640 units, especially. If I'm going to pay the money, you know, when I, you know, do this digital zoom, is it going to cut down my resolution that I paid for 640 money and didn't get what I wanted?
Yeah. I mean, that's you know, especially with me, I was going to say the one, I'm not going to name in specific on which unit that I personally run, but it's got a 3.5 base mag. And then being able to run this unit during a competition and get some footage with it, you know, it's nice having the benefit of going from a 2 to a 3 base, because, you know, sometimes like those animals, they'll come in within 50 yards, and then there's other times where they hang up 200, 250 yards. I just make my adjustment, and then I have the ability to make those further shots, which, like I said, that was the most beneficial to me. And then being in a 640, having 2 different base magnifications to work with, just makes a big, you know, advantage for me, you know, as a hunter, not knowing how far my shots are going to be, knowing I could start, you know, my closest could be within 50 yards and my furthest could be 300 plus, and having that ability to adjust and, you know, make the adjustments that I needed was awesome.
I mean, the utilization of these products are pretty vast for guys kind of in the hunting community and being able what do they do. I guess I really need to kind of get into specifications so we can kind of say, hey, what are we really looking at? Because like I said, I did a 3D4. The 3D4, as we kind of went over the dual field of view and kind of what the sensor sizes are, they are 50 hertz refresh rates. They are 12 micron sensors. This is the 3D4 model. It has all the features of the V2, the recoil activated video recording, the video recording, Wi-Fi streaming. It's going to have about an 8-hour battery life. You may get a little bit more out of it. They do come with 2 batteries as well. So you have plenty of runtime running these units, plus AGM includes that extra battery. Yep. You have all of your multiple profiles with your multiple zeros per profile, and it has the operating system is a little more upgraded in the V2 and the Clarion here. It does have a setting to where you can be more specific in your zeros. You can actually do your zeros with, like this one's 25 and 50. You can actually do your zeros for the 25 sensor and then the 50 sensor. You can do those separately. So guys that are really wanting to hone in on long range, up close, they gives you the options of 2 different zeros, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, I remember when I went out and to sight this unit in to use it for a tournament, you know, I not knowing, realistically not paying attention or anything, I went and sighted in at the 2 base at the 35 millimeter. And once I got that zeroed in, I saved it, and then it asked me if I wanted to sight in at the second, focal point or the second field of view. So basically, you make your adjustment over, you switch it over to the 60, and then you go through all your sighting in steps again. Once you get that, you save your parameters for the 60, and then so basically you're putting in 2 different zeros. But like Jason was saying, for the long range guys, when you switch it over to the 60. You could sight it in at, an inch high at 200 yards if you really wanted to, and then you could sight in the 35 at dead on at 100. So basically, you're getting 2 different zeros
on the fly.
Yeah. So realistically, you got that animal out there 300 yards. You switch it over. You're inch high at 200, so you put it on dead nuts at 300. You're going to be good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that utilization of that is going to be a big deal. I mean, and there's just a ton of features in these things. And, I mean, everything that you could want in the thermal, they've pretty much done it here with both the 3D4 and the 640. And I think they've done a really, really good job at AGM of being able to release their new line and then still added the Clarion on top of it. I mean, they pretty much put it right on the tailcoats here of V2 on Rattlers. I mean, and that line has done really well. It's been a big seller for us in 3D4 and in 640. But what I think a lot of people don't realize, though, when they're calling us, we keep talking about Clarion. And I mean, there's not a lot of videos and things out there about it or a lot of field testing, but they don't realize that the industry standard right now for a lot of 640 units, I mean, you may see some outliers here every once in a while. Pretty much everyone stops at 50 millimeter sensors.
Yeah, that is very true. And going to a 60, 640, was it was a game changer in my opinion. Just field testing it, running it, making a few longer shots with it. It made a world of difference.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what we were doing, but I was using a competing product one night. I'd finished up the 3D4, and we went and swapped things up, and I still wanted to get some varmint footage with our Clarion 640, so I'd suggest and keep running that. And I went and ran a competitor's products. I mean, we were seeing an animal. It was like he was able to detect it about 100 yards quicker than what I could.
Yeah. And then like Jason was saying, is like I was able to see it, and then I was also able to identify it within 50 to 75 yards quicker than Jason was using that competing product.
I was giving it a lot more credit, but
yeah. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, we'll be a little graceful here, but it is very true.
Right. But, you were able to identify in things quicker. It's like having the 10 millimeters more in sensor size, especially in 640, it does make a big difference in image quality.
Absolutely.
And we get guys asking, I want some of the best image quality for the money. Well, it's like there's a lot of things we need to throw into that factor, of between the companies, between the technologies used, like this one, you're having a 60 millimeter sensor now, which a lot of people may call around Rattler 5640, and I was like, well, you do realize they make a 60 in the Clarion, and they have no clue. It's something that I think is getting totally hidden. Missed in this industry right now. And I'm kind of harping on the 640, but I would say we had a lot of guys that really, really, really liked. I mean, this is one of our Midwesterners and the kind of up north guys loved those varmint 53D4s.
Yeah.
With the LRF on them.
Yeah, that is very
Those
true.
are great, but the biggest problem we had down here was that people hated the 4.5 base magnification.
Yeah, because they have a lot of tight quarters here. In our area, there's not a lot of long shot opportunities unless you're hunting the crop fields. So a lot of people are looking for, around here at least, are looking for that, lesser of a base mag, somewhere in the 2 to 3.5 versus that 4. It's just, it's too much around here.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of guys that were our varmint guys, I mean, yes, you don't have the laser rangefinder option here with the Clarion or that varmint 2 right now. But you're going to have these guys that I want a little bit better 384. I want to step up from the 35. It's like, well, the Clarion going in the 50, being a 4.5, that's going to get you the long range shots. It's going to give the identification that you want and still be able to have low base magnification option in here. I think this is the best of both worlds for guys that are just not quite ready to hop up to the 640.
Yeah, and then because you're getting like a 2-in-1 pretty much.
Yeah, I think this is the best of both worlds, having the dual field of view in both units. I think it's definitely a big jump on the 3D4 from how it does the lower base mag to that 4.5. I think the 640, is just helping those guys that always can't decide on the base magnification.
Yeah,
I think it's true. I think I'm almost. I mean, they really are two different products, but they really are two different products.
No, absolutely,
and two different people and two different customers that we kind of run across when they start talking about what should they get, what should they look at. And besides that, our 640 guys can't decide on base mag. Our 3D4 guys that are trying to upgrade. They're trying to get up to something just a little bit bigger. They want a little bit bigger sensor before they quite jump over into that 640 market. Yeah. And there are going to be some 640s probably out this year that are going to be around the price of what this 3D4 is going to be. But it's going to be lower base magnification stuff, which a lot of these guys always knock. They're like, well, I zoom up one time to 4 power, and I'm now just at a 3D4.
Yeah, that is true.
At a 35 millimeter sensor. I was like, that's right. That is true. I mean, that's right. This is where this product is going to shine and do really well with the 50 millimeter 3D4 at 4.5 base, giving you that extra magnification that you're wanting and for the price point that you're wanting to get at. Yeah. So I can say this is probably going to be a big seller. I mean, both of them, I think, going to be big sellers this year. They came out at the tail end. I mean, really started coming out here.
Yeah, there was a lot, like you were saying earlier, there was a lot of products that came out before these units did. So they kind of missed that hype train of, like, oh, look, there's a Clarion. They just came out with that, because these came out right after the new Rattler V2s did. So I feel like they kind of missed out, on that hype.
Well, if you look at the pictures, you can't really tell the difference unless you really look.
Yeah, and unless you personally know how long a Rattler V2 is in comparison to the Clarion, you're not gonna be able to tell a difference because, like we were saying earlier, there's only about a half-inch difference between the Rattler V2 and the new Clarions. They look very similar.
Yeah, because the V2s have single lever mounts. They have these duals. Unless you're looking for that, or you just not notice there's something else here going on because their main focus ring is here. You got their main focus ring right up there. And that's perfect amount of it moves, and then changing your dual field of view right there. These are very, very ruggedized units. If you haven't really seen the V2 and the Rattler, these Clarions, the way that they made these things, they made these suckers rugged.
Oh, yeah.
And they have that battery exchange system here for the cartridge-style battery, and they have a locking mechanism. So even if that door pops open on this unit, like let's say you have a little higher recoil gun, or you just didn't shut it very well in the dark, they have a latch inside of here. There's like a little emergency latch that holds it in there. So even if the door pops open, your battery's not coming out, you're not losing power. So I think that's a big deal when you talk about ruggedized units in the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing things in the dark, trying to get these things to work, trying to do battery change outs. If you have to do one for some reason, you didn't charge it up or didn't charge it up all the way, being able to do that quick swap on these things has been awesome.
Yeah, I know. And then, I know some guys are going to question about, Jason mentioned it's got the big front focus ring. And, the question, I know there'll be a couple questions out there that, well, I'm concerned about, being able to feel the difference in between changing my lens size or my front focus ring. To me, you'll be able to tell as soon as you put your hand what you have. Am I going to adjust,
like
from a 35 to a 60, or am I adjusting my focus? One's a little bit stiffer than the other, but like I said, I was kind of concerned about the same thing, but you get out in the field, you're making your adjustments, overall, I really don't think there's going to be a concern about, grabbing the wrong,
Yeah, it's got that oversized kind of shark fin looking thing up here in the front where you can get your finger in there, even with gloves on.
And in my opinion, it's a little stiffer than the front focus ring. So, like I said, you're going to know what you're adjusting.
They move independently. They don't move together. They're not catching or anything like that. So, you know what you're going to do. But
yeah, absolutely.
mean, it's just like the situation where we'll pull up a video here. That coyote that came in on us.
Oh yeah, that is true.
I mean,
He's right in front of us.
I was at 4.5. I mean, there was no choice on me trying to shoot. They came in there. At
Yeah,
30
I think
yards.
I was at the 3 base, and apparently I had seen it, but I didn't see it because we were reviewing the footage, and I had my gun locked into the table mounting system that we have, and then I was looking through my scanner. Well, as I'm like spinning in the chair, the scope picks it up, but I have no idea because I didn't see it in my scanner. Well, finally I pick it up on my scanner, get locked in on it with the 3 base with the 640 Clarion, make the shot, and we had no idea until we were pulling the footage that the scope actually picked it up before anybody else did. We didn't know that. It was kind of crazy story behind that.
So I can say that scope, this Clarion 640, it'll bring you some luck because
Oh yeah,
it was our dangest. We could not get a long range shot on coyotes to save our lives.
That is very true. That's why we field tested it for so long, because everything we called in was within 100 yards. We could not get anything to hang up or come out where it sat at 150 yards. No, everything committed. They were hard chargers. If anything, it was almost impossible to get a long range shot with the 60 base on a 640.
Yeah, so I mean, I know you got some stuff on when you did on the 35 35 side, but then we try to go over that 60. I mean, just trying to get footage focused on that 60. It took a while to try to get some things to fill in there. Not saying that we couldn't ever do it, but it was just taking us way too long. And we're like, listen, we need to get the footage out there, show guys that what you can do here.
Yep.
So we may sneak in some footage, some other hunts later where we got those some more Clarion. That Clarion, I keep wanting to call it Clarion 5640, but it's not.
It's not at all.
It's a Clarion 60 millimeter 640, but the Clarion 640, and being able to get that unit to where we could show there's the long range potential is really 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 good with those units.
Absolutely.
But I mean, for the dangest, we couldn't sit there and get.
Well, the thing was is
anything other long range.
Yeah, I mean,
shoot a pig.
I think our last kill we had with the 640 was a cat. And we watched him come in for every bit of 500 yards. And we're like, oh, great. This is going to be the challenge for this unit. Well, that cat, it beelined. It came straight in. I think he ended up stopping at 150 yards. I mean, I think we did everything but jump out of the rack trying to get this cat to stop. And because we were trying to execute that long-range shot, so we had good footage to, show, okay, here's a cat at 250 yards, making a good shot on him. Well, like I said, we had to do everything we could besides jump out of the rack to get that cat to even stop. And we finally got him stopped at 150 yards. And we thought we were going to have the perfect, footage for it, getting a good cat kill at 200 plus yards. But nope, just didn't work out that way. Like Jason was saying, everything committed.
Head on in high grass. If he would have taken a couple steps to the right or left, he would have been gone underneath the hill embankment there. And so we just you had to kind of take the shot that you were given.
Yeah.
And it wasn't ideal, but it gave a lot of identification to where, you see it running. I mean, just not the typical coming out of the woods. I mean, it came across open field and we could see forever. Absolutely. You could with that Clarion what was coming in.
Like I said, we were 500-600 yards from the nearest tree line, and I watched him come out and he was running and everything. And like I said, we were trying to make that far shot, but he just didn't cooperate with us.
Well, I guess I have to say that I have to make a correction. We did have some out there far away, but 400 yards wasn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
You ain't going to be able to, neither one of us going to be able to shoot 400 yards. So
I would say it's about.
Technically, we did have some long range ones, but.
It's like 3:30 in the morning. We're getting delusional. We're just like, I think that's something. And as they're running away, we're like, yeah, that was something. It's okay. We'll call in something else. And, it's just. Late nights.
Trying to get them at 300-400 yards and not coming in at all. It's like we're not just going to throw them out there. But I mean, I guess we got some footage. We don't have any kill footage of them.
Yeah, that is
far
true.
Out. But we did get to see some being able to utilize that scope. But sometimes when you call, it just doesn't always work out for you. And how some of the things or caller dies, or we're in the wrong position, or
always something.
Someone drives down the
Always
road,
something.
or someone pops off a shot on the neighbor's place right next to you, and just doesn't always work out in some of these sets. But it's still gonna be awesome. Varmint gun. I mean, a varmint setup for both of these, but still, like the pig hunter guys. I mean, I know we kind of harped on some of the other stuff, but the low base mag for all of our guys that are the hog hunters that say, hey, I like to get under 75 yards.
Yeah.
It'll be perfect for you, but then dual roll, you switch it over and you can still go out and varmint hunt. You got an all-in-one setup.
Yep.
I mean, because we get those guys coming all the time. It's like, I want to shoot both. I want to do both.
Yeah.
And then having to sacrifice one towards the other. Now you're not having to do that. Now they're going to be able to do both. So our guys that like to do both and not just our straight varmint hunters are now going to be able to have that utilization with the Clarion. And I'm trying to think of some other things with this unit that we really haven't covered. But I mean, this one was one that I could go get in the woods. I mean, I could go get in the woods with this unit and go stock up on things and not feel like I was sacrificing anything. Like we
Yeah.
would go in there and get on some of those feeders, some of that brush area. I mean, right now we're looking at April and everything's all grown up right now, but we can still get out there and still use it with a lower base magnification because all the long range stuff is all grown up. We got crop fields,
Yeah.
grass is up, and all the up close stuff. So, I mean, we were able to do that with this unit, and we can still be able to do that where you're getting to go out and still utilize that unit.
Yeah.
And not a lot of guys around here. Sometimes they kind of close it up around summertime, or some of the guys that may be on for feeders and things like that. But the wooded areas, stalking animals that are down on the ground, and still being utilized, these units have been a big deal. But also the long range application, their digital magnifications. I mean, how smooth did you feel that magnification worked on the Clarions?
Oh yeah,
when you were zooming up.
it was great. I mean, like that cat story we keep going back to.
He's a base mag shooter guy. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I did zoom in one time. I never do that. I usually just shoot on the base mag. For some reason, it's more comfortable in my opinion. But to me, I seen that cat way out there, so I was like, I'm gonna zoom in one time, and I never zoomed out. I stayed where I was, and I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable as if I was shooting in base mag like I always do. And to me, the image quality was still, I'm not gonna say it was just as good as it was on the base mag, but to me, it wasn't a huge difference. I was still able to make a good, clean shot on it and still be able to see all the detail around. I'll still be able to tell that it was a cat coming in. So, and it was, like I said, it was super, super easy to do it. And like I said, I was comfortable with it, just for the guys that are kind of the similar way I am, shoot on the base mag. Like I said, it was no difference to me zooming in one time versus shooting in the base mag. Everything still basically did everything I wanted it to do.
What do you think about the battery?
I think it's a huge upgrade. That was the kryptonite with the original TS Rattlers. You could only get
CR123.
Yeah, you could only get 2 or 3 hours at the most. Especially if it was cold, you were lucky to get over 2 hours. And as soon as they made that cartridge style battery, that changed the whole game for the Rattler.
I mean, there'd be a couple times I think that we'd forget to charge the unit. We went out one night and go out the second night, and we may charge it because you can charge these things in a dock, or you can actually plug them here on the side and charge them up like on the go. When we were going set to set, sometimes we'd plug them in just to get a little extra charge on them if we knew we were going to run all night long.
Yeah, well, I'll say I was guilty of. We went out hunting. This was back when it was super cold around. I think it was like down in. I think we're at 14, 15 degrees down here. We were headed to a feeder with some pigs. Well, it turns out the pigs beat us. They were coming down the road, and that's when I powered the unit on, push record, shot. Well, after all that happened, I forgot to stop the recording and turn the unit off. Well, we drove around this 1,500 acre place for, I would say, an hour or so. Unit still on, unit still recording, and as we get out for our next set, like I said, about an hour ago or an hour later, the unit's still doing everything, but it didn't lose any battery life. Yeah, of course, it probably took a little bit, but it's got bars inside on the battery indicator. Well, I didn't even lose a bar because I remember I started out with 2, and it still had 2 when I pulled it up and looked through it an hour later. So the battery inside this unit is phenomenal, and all that happened, like I said, it was 14, 15 degrees, so being cold, video recording still running, and the unit still being on, and it didn't even lose a bar. I was like, that says a lot for the battery capability of this unit now.
I mean, and it had us power safe by pressing the power button to be able to turn off the display itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing you're going to notice with this unit is that you have tons of battery on it. I mean, because those are the things that are going to dramatically take down your battery are going to be recording. You actively recording for long periods of time in storage, as well as display being on. And then your sensor, maybe it clicking a bunch, if you're in high humidity situations,
Yeah.
if you're doing that a lot and that sensor's always open, but that's not as much as the other two, the recording and then the display being on. So you can utilize a lot of those things, but we didn't a lot of the times.
Yeah,
we didn't use the power save. We just left the sucker on.
That's a bad habit of ours.
Yeah,
just always on.
But the battery, we never had to worry about the battery, and
No.
so that was nice about being able to pick up a unit, never having to worry about the battery. It's like you already had, and we had the spares with us, but we never even worried about it.
Never needed it.
We'd go out to go stalk on something sometimes. We're like, I got 2 bars, we're good.
But I was gonna say I'm as guilty as we're starting the night off, I power the unit on, check. I was like, I got 2 bars, I'm good. And because I know that just running these units, those 2 bars will last me every bit of 8 hours. It'll last me a full night. So I was like, 2 bars, that's plenty.
Yeah, I mean, stopping sets, turning the unit off, going place to place, things like that. You're going to be able to utilize this. I mean, when you get battery longevities, a lot of that's just like constant runtime if you left it on the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, nobody really hunts that way where they leave units on that whole time. They may turn it off, may go to a spot, get an opportunity to charge it up, and then be able to go back. So, I mean, that's not going to be something to ever worry about. And, looking through these things, I think we kind of did skip over something. Now I'm sitting here, it kind of just clicked with me. Is the side end process. I thought the side end process on these, I mean, the Rattler 2s are the same thing.
Yeah.
The side end process seems to be so much simpler.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, once you get a good understanding of how it works, you might not be perfect at it your first time, your second time, but once it clicks in your head, it's a very simple process. It's just like anything new. Once you figure it out, it's no big deal. Even first, second time, it's not going to overwhelm you. It's not going to, piss you off, and you're not going to waste 3-4 boxes of shells. If you know how to sight in a thermal unit, not just this one, but any of them, it's going to be a very simple process, and you'll probably find yourself thinking that, wow, that's a lot simpler than other units out there. It's not complicated at all.
Well, we run across this on Rattler 2, so I will say somebody getting pissed off is you have to pay attention to what is highlighted.
Yes.
And you select things.
That is
We've
very
had
true.
guys that have called us upset about the sign-in process with Rattler 2s because it's highlighted as cancel, and they just press the button thinking that the first highlighted thing is save, and it's not. You actually have to press the button up, then hit save.
Yeah, that's, if there's anything to complain about, yes,
that
the
is it.
default, once you go to save it, it is defaulted to automatically go to cancel. You've got to press up 1, confirm okay, and then once you do that, everything's going to save.
Yeah, that is the only thing we've run across of
Yes.
sight-in issues is the exact same thing. And then guys say, well, I feel so dumb. It's like, man, hey, you're not the only one. It does come across. It's just operating systems are all a little bit different. But this system is more minute with its changes. I think that you can do it on different magnifications. You have more, smaller increments. The higher you zoom in when you go there, you are able to make those changes. Freeze frame guys, they do like to do a freeze frame. I've never done freeze frame. I don't like doing freeze frame.
I don't either. I feel like you've got to be too precise with it, especially if you're not locked in on a bench or at the range or something. If you're just, your typical tripod sighting in setup, to me, freeze frame is just, it makes it more
I think
difficult.
of it like tracing. Like you've got 2 points. You got the point for the bullseye. You've got the point for where your bullet impact is. And I think of it like you're tracing something. So you hold it up and see, am I on my points like I need to be lined up? And once I am, that's when I start to save and make my adjustments for that.
Yeah.
1 shot 0, 2 shot 0, whole box of shells 0, whatever it may be for some
Yeah,
guys.
that is true.
But you can hone these things in more than some of the traditional rattlers that you ran across, and then all the other features that are in these things, being able to do that. But their side-in menu, I think, was very, very intuitive. You have multiple profiles on there, and being able to run through all of those. And you'll have no buttons on the side to where you're accidentally changing profiles or anything crazy on here. Everything's all on top. I mean, you have to work really hard to hit these buttons to go change and stuff.
Yeah.
Plus, they're pretty rugged buttons on these things.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, definitely.
They're raised.
They're not
up.
going to just
they're not going to accidentally be
rip
doing
or
anything.
pop up or anything.
Changing pallets being smooth, menu operation being smooth, long presses, short presses. These things have just been a big upgrade, I think, from the Rattler 2s. I mean, Rattler 1s. I need to be careful what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was going to say, watch the lingo terminology.
The
here.
Rattler 1 and then Rattler 2s being a big upgrade, plus everything that they're able to do now. So I think this is going to be, these 2 units are going to be really big units, I think, for 2024,
absolutely.
into 2024, into 2025 for AGM. And their price points may change and things like I said. I don't want to announce any price points on these videos because they may
fluctuate a little bit.
And I don't want to sit there and put myself and be like, oh yeah, man, they selling for a premium over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And get myself in any trouble or charging too much over here.
Yeah.
But they are available now. We do have these in stock. You can come by and see these here. So come over to Feral Texas Outdoors, come down and see us at the retail location. You can get out here and get your hands on, come check these things out. We always get out there and field test this, so we will be putting a lot of that footage on our Feral Texas page. But I'm gonna let Justin close this out here. We're talking about the Clarion.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Jason said, come visit us here at our retail location at Feral Texas Outdoors. We're located between Austin and Waco in the small town of Holland, Texas. But be sure to check us out on YouTube at Hunting After Dark Podcast. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify at Hunting After Dark Podcast. You can also check us out on our website at huntingafterdark.com or send us an email at huntingafterdarkpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions or want to get a hold of us. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, guys.